Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are previewing the main card of UFC 187. Right now we're going to take a look at the very interesting Vitor Belfort, Chris Weidman matchup, and we're talking with Nick Kalikas from MMAOddsBreaker.com, and our special guest over the phone from Fightnomics.com is Reed Kuhn. All right, guys, Vitor Belfort, Chris Weidman. Interesting fight. First of all, Belfort, an awesome striker, right? He's knocked out 3 straight top 10 fighters in a row, but he does have a history of not dealing with top wrestlers well and with sort of fading in marquee fights. On the other hand, Weidman's a minus 500 favorite. Is that favorite line justified? And then we have the whole TRT issue going on here. How is Belfort going to react to not being able to inject himself up with testosterone? We'll start with you, Reed Kuhn from Fightnomics.com. So many factors here. How do you analyze this from a quantitative perspective?
Well, there's certainly a lot of volatility because of the history of Belfort, but yeah. I'm never going to be one that goes out there and wants to bet on a 38-year-old guy who's coming off of testosterone. Right. He has some remarkable stats. There is no question that his striking is practically off the charts. His knockdown rate is ridiculously high, but what most people don't realize is that his chin rating, his knockdown defense is almost equally large in magnitude. So while he's a very powerful striker, he's also very vulnerable. And at age 38 against a younger, bigger, very fit and powerful guy in Weidman, I just think this is a bad night for Belfort one way or the other. He's certainly not going to be pulling off some crazy submission. Mm-hmm. He obviously has the puncher or kicker's chances we've seen, but Weidman is going to be the better fighter all over. And
the TRT issue, how much do you think that is a knock against Belfort? Just a small one, or is it a huge one?
I think it's significant because I think he was on it for a long time, and it's a big shock to the system to suddenly go, just cold turkey on that kind of stuff, because your body doesn't really react well to that. It doesn't just suddenly overcome that. And part of this is a more complicated medical question that I'm not fully qualified to answer. Right. But it has to be a big deal. Testosterone in combat sports is a very big factor.
Sure. So you believe that Weidman should have a huge edge, and the market is agreeing, but the question is just minus 500. I mean, is that a little bit too high? Belfort, of course, is still Belfort, and maybe it's justified. Do you think that Weidman would be a good bet at minus 500, maybe even better value on some kind of prop? What do you think?
Yeah, I think a prop or inside the distance play, if you can get that, is more reasonable. I don't think this is going to last 5 rounds, and I think that once Weidman survives the first flurry or two in the first round, maybe even round 2, where Belfort is hanging in there, but eventually Belfort is going to crumble. And it could happen with submission. It could happen with strikes on the ground. I think Weidman does get to finish one way or the other, but because he does like to finish different ways, you don't want to pick one or the other. Inside the distance is probably the better prop.
Okay, Nick Kalikas, high-profile fight here and a huge favorite. Are the books going to wind up needing one of these guys one way or the other?
It'll be a lot closer than people think, because, Belfort's going to get that kind of puncher's chance of respect for sure from the underdog bettors, especially at the current line. I opened Weidman minus 475, the comeback plus 325 or so. So the line climbed a little bit, but not that bad considering, everything. So I don't think we're going to have a huge decision here. We'll probably need Vitor a little bit to bust up some parlays. I don't think we're going to get it. I think it's another spot that we probably lose a little bit overall on this fight. But again, there's more fights on this card, so more than make it up on the other fights here. But it's one of those situations. I totally agree with what Reed said across the board. I think it is Weidman's fight to win or lose here. Right. If he doesn't get caught, with a Belfort punch on the feet, or a kick, we should say that as well, right, then he should be okay, honestly. I think as the fight goes, it definitely favors Weidman a little bit. He could finish this. I think Weidman can finish it on the feet. He can finish it on the ground. He can finish it by sub. So there's a lot of different ways he can win this fight.
So why not open the line in a way that you think might attract Belfort action to wind up needing Weidman?
Because I think we are probably going to attract that kind of action anyway. Like I said, it's going to be pretty close as well. Belfort typically is not a huge underdog. Against marquee guys, John Jones, guys like that people again expect Belfort to have a bad night. I understand it. So this is a pretty significant line because you don't want to get too crazy with Belfort. Right. I know the TRT factor comes into play here for sure, but that being said, if you look at what he's done on the feet, you have to give him some kind of respect. Even if he's off TRT, he still has the technique. His body might be off a little bit, but he's good enough to definitely put out most middleweights, no doubt about it.
But Reed Kuhn, your pick on this fight would be Weidman inside the distance.
Yeah, I think that's the best play. The total of 2.5 rounds is reasonable because, again, Belfort is going to look strong early. So it's maybe hard to judge when that finish comes, but certainly within 5 rounds.
Okay, thanks, guys.